right, welcome everybody to this episode of The Monthly Blend, which is a monthly video podcast brought to you by Next, powered by Shulman Rogers and Connectpreneur. I'm Tian Wong, founder and host of the Connectpreneur community. We're a global community of over 30,000 investors, founders, and business leaders. I'm also CEO of Opus 8, and we help companies and fund managers raise money through our network of accredited private investors, family offices, and other high net worth individuals throughout the U.S., along with my co-host, Anthony Millen, who is the founder and chair of Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. We're pleased to bring you this monthly video podcast, which covers trends, information, as well as fascinating interviews with game changers and newsmakers here in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore Metroplex. Anthony and I started this podcast a little over 2.5 years ago as a way to increase awareness of cool, innovative technologies and happenings in our region, and to break down some of the silos that we have here, as well as to serve as a mechanism to do our part in helping to bring the region together and to help foster innovation and entrepreneurship here. Today, we're absolutely thrilled to have a conversation with a leading innovator and entrepreneur in the Baltimore, Washington, Frederick Metroplex. We have Kathie Callahan Brady, who's the president and CEO of FITCI, which is the shorthand name for the Frederick Innovative Technology Corporation. Lots of great stuff going on, Kathie. We're thrilled to have you today. Now I'd like to turn things over to my co-host, Anthony Millen, who is a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist, as well as one of the nation's leading startup attorneys. Anthony is the founder and chair of Next, powered by Shulman Rogers. Next is disrupting the way legal services are being delivered via a unique fixed price structure, which allows for expert legal advice in a cost that entrepreneurs and startups can quantify ahead of time. And in the last 2 years, Next has been recognized by winning Legal Week's Startup Emerging Law Firm of the Year, as well as being a finalist for the American Lawyer's Most Innovative Law Firm Award and Legal Week's Most Innovative Legal Department Award. Congratulations, Anthony.
Great. Thanks, Tian. Before we jump into questions, maybe, Kathie, you want to just take a few minutes just to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Sure, happy to. So I always say, first and foremost, I've always been an entrepreneur. I think even as a child, I was an educator for University of Maryland for a while, the overseas program. I have a computer science degree, doctorate in naturopathic medicine, and about 30 years in executive level experience. I've had several of my own businesses in IT, real estate, coaching, business development. But I always say that, the last 7 years, I've said I've been the luckiest woman in the world. And that's because I get to work with some of the best and brightest individuals ever. But when you really start thinking about that, I get to work with entrepreneurs and help them make their dreams come true, which is a great honor. But when you really look at it, these individuals are all trying to make the world a better place. So I feel extremely honored to actually have the opportunity to run this entrepreneurial ecosystem that we call FITCI. And I've been doing that since 2016.
And, amazing what you've done and how much it's grown. Can you talk a little bit, as the largest incubator in Maryland, how you're growing the way that you're growing and continuing to innovate and be a big part of driving our ecosystem forward?
Sure. So I'm going to tell a story that I wasn't even thinking about telling. I remember when I first walked into FITCI, there was a lot of issues and a lot of problems. And, we called it kind of a start over. And I found myself, and it's on my calendar today. And it is, I look at it every morning. It's what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, that everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And I remember kind of scratching my head for a week thinking, what in the world could I do if it was just one thing? And that one thing was surround the startups with CEOs that are seasoned, that are in the field, that are running and growing, scaling their own successful businesses. And I thought, that's great, because I'm not from Frederick and I don't know anyone here. But Frederick is this collaborative community to where I was able to pull together what I now call our secret sauce. And that is 54 CEOs who come together. They volunteer their time to advise my companies, the FITCI companies. And from that, everything built from them, and we call it strategic growth and advisory board. Our classes were built around that. Everything was built around that. And today we've got 74 companies. We built mailboxes for 246. So that is our plans to grow to that.
And, when you talk about that secret sourcing and your own background, how have you found companies benefit from that secret sauce? Like what aspect, like what makes it special and really helps them de-risk?
Well, when I think about it, it came from my own experience of running my own businesses. And I think about all of the scars of thinking that I can do it on my own and that I was smart enough to be able to traverse every single hiccup that was going to come my way. And I did. I mean, I was very young, and I realized that I had joined a CEO roundtable called Vistage with one of my last businesses, and having 12 other entrepreneurs around who care about you and care about your business and help you be able to think through that, it truly scales your business in ways that you can't even begin, because you're learning about yourself, and other CEOs are going to hold you accountable, and they're going to remember that 6 months ago, you were saying the exact same thing that you're saying now, and they're going to push you in ways so you grow in ways that you never even realize. I believe that all of us have sort of a ceiling that we butt up against. We don't even see that ceiling half of the time. Most of the time, we don't see the ceiling. And what we've got to do is break through those barriers and those types of things, because we're not going to reveal ourselves to just anyone. We're not going to be vulnerable. And the only way of really pushing through breaking through these barriers is being vulnerable. So you've got to put people together and match them together who completely understand. CEOs understand how hard it is to grow and scale a business. They're empathetic to other startups. It just makes logical sense. So it helped me in my business. And it was one of the things that I was a facilitator as well. So I put it in place inside of FITCI.
We talked here about what you do to help your portfolio companies that are part of the FITCI family. FITCI is part of a broader ecosystem in Maryland. And what kinds of collaboration and kind of best practice sharing happens with other accelerators and incubators across the region?
I wish there was more, to be honest with you. I think all of us are so busy, and I think this is a common theme that is running across where I don't think we take the time to be able to do that. But I mean, I run into Judy from Montgomery County all the time. We're constantly sharing, best practices there. We're part of the Maryland Business Innovation Association, so we're constantly sharing practices there. I'm on the TEDCO board. We're constantly looking at how we should be doing statistics on our companies so we can look at what does success really mean? What should we be shifting? What should we be changing? So we have a lot of different types of partnerships that we do with NCI, with Emerging Technology Center, with Maryland's Global Gateway Product Program. So there's those types of things that we do. If you talk to some of the other incubator partners, they're probably spending more time at the Maryland Business Innovation Association as well as the national one. It's probably what I should be doing, but I've been building a building. So I think that will come in time in terms of more collaboration. But I personally like to see all of us being able to work together to raise all of the incubators up and get rid of this belief system that we're nurturing baby chickens. I joke about that all the time, but we want to get rid of that, because think about this. You guys are both entrepreneurs yourself. Does a baby chicken and wanting to be nurtured because you're fragile, do you relate to that in any way? Probably not. No entrepreneur really relates to that, but a mountain goat who wants to climb to the top of the mountain because the views are the best and the grasses are the best, that, you're standing on sheer cliffs, we can relate to that.
Right.
So we're going to change that. And I think if we all got together, we would be able to really change sort of the way people look at incubators and even change that word. Like, we need to get rid of the word. We're an entrepreneurial community and an entrepreneurial ecosystem that we're building here.
No, that is a great analogy. Good. I really like that.
It's actually our new mascot. Her name is Skylar Peekpanur von FITCI. Her birth announcement will be out soon.
Oh, very nice. In terms of Frederick and just the business and entrepreneurial climate, there was that period before COVID, then we had the COVID period. How do things look today as we've kind of started coming out of COVID and we're in that next phase?
When you think about the COVID phase, I remember all of us being on a screen like this the very first day. And I told my staff, we're not going to get any new clients. So in order for us to thrive and be successful, we've got to do everything we possibly can to just make our companies successful and thrive. And so throw away job descriptions. We're going to figure this out each and every day. Well, we got 22 new clients during COVID. So we have been busier than we've ever been. And then we're also building a new building. So I keep hearing how the market, it always fluctuates and that we're in this really tough time, but we're thriving. And the edge here at 321, and we haven't even broken the wall down for phase 1 and phase 2. We're almost completely full. We're renovating Metropolitan Court. That's going to be our ag tech as well as our biomanufacturing center. We still have a third of the clients that are in there. I think the climate here in Frederick is one that, because I remember how I told you I wasn't from Frederick at all. And so getting CEOs, very busy, very successful CEOs, to volunteer their time when I didn't know any of them. And I was able to get to 54 where we are today. The first year, I was able to get to 24 of them. There's something about this community that is cooperative and collaborative, and it kind of underlies everything we do. But visitors and people see that. There's something that they come in there. I came in here and felt it, and it was like, wow, I'm home. I'm going to be able to thrive here. So I think that even though, markets naturally fluctuate, we're still doing well, and we do well because we do well together.
You talk about biomanufacturing and ag tech. What how big is the biotech and life sciences in Frederick, and where do you see that particular market segment going, and what kinds of things is FITCI doing to kind of help promote that really important industry for the state of Maryland?
Sure. Good question. So it's changing a lot. It's changed a lot so I will be celebrating. No, I've actually celebrated my 8th year here just this month. And it has changed significantly in just those 8 years. When I look at sort of the biotechs that are here in Frederick, they have grown. They started off, it seemed like they were mostly on the cellular side and on the device side. And I think a lot of that had to do with, because we're sitting, 2 miles from Fort Detrick. We're sitting right next to NCI, and we've got all of the major, players that are around us. But it was probably 4 years into being here at FITCI that I found myself looking up and realizing that, wait, I was categorizing these companies as life science and biotech, and yet they're not. Many of them are now sort of agrotech, or I can even put them over on the tech side, because you really put, nanotechnology and biotech, and there's different types where things are kind of merging together. But in terms of us promoting it, when I look at the number of biotech companies that are here in Frederick, over 2/3 of them came through FITCI. We follow each and every one of them. We're not a traditional incubator. Again, I'm saying we need to get rid of that word. We're traditional incubators. It's like, see you later, bye-bye, you've graduated. We don't believe that we should be doing that. They will always be part of the FITCI family. So we follow them. We promote them as much as we possibly can. and we showcase them. So our events are all centered around showcasing our companies and showcasing what's happening in the world. So shameless plug here. We plan on really showcasing the future of medicine, the future of technology, and the future of, and we're trying to find the right word, is sort of that eco scale, the sustainability as part of our launch. And it's the launch of Maryland's Edge. It's happening July 18th at 5:30. It's on our website. You don't want to miss this because it's going to be a ton of fun, hopefully very educational and an amazing experience for everybody. It's the really community that's coming together, that's pulling the future of this technology together. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. And now we're going to transition a little bit away from the overall market to FITCI itself. And I'm going to hand it back to Tien.
Thank you, Anthony. Kathie, FITCI is already the largest incubator in the state of Maryland, and you just expanded into a brand new, beautiful building, which almost doubles your footprint, if not. Can you talk about your expansion? How did you get the new building to be so full so quickly? And also, what are you going to do with the Metropolitan Court location?
Great questions. Lots of questions and the one that's packed in there. Of course, it's my favorite topic to talk about. But you know what? I have to start with a thank you, because when you came out to see the new building and all it had was our tape of like, here's where the offices are going to be, here's where the labs are going to be, here's where base camp, our community space was going to be. You walked in and was probably the only person who 100% like got it. And you go, oh my goodness, what you're building here is bigger than anything that I've seen. And this is exactly what we need in this region. And you got very excited about it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated that. And it spurred me on when this 5 years to decide we're going to move, find the right property, design the right property, raise all the money, and then build the center. It's taken a while. And I've had some criticism of, you're building that much community space. Why in the world would you do that? And you just got it. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You may not have known this, but my first job was in commercial real estate with CBRE. So I have a long-standing commercial real estate background, and I love buildings and development. And my dad was involved in building real estate. So yeah, I could see it right away. And you're the real visionary.
Well, thank you. But I didn't realize that about you. So it has been a labor of love. It's something that I noticed. I mean, when I first walked into Metropolitan Court, great bones, great building, but we'd been there way too long, almost 20 years. And then it was 20 years before that, and it just hadn't been renovated. And we were just, after a while, we were just sort of we're busting through the building, and there was no way of renovating it while we were there at all. And I also knew there was this other problem that we had when it came to biotech companies, and they get to the point and they take like 4 of our labs, our small labs, which comes up to 4 of them, about 1,000 square feet. And then everyone starts saying, you've got to move out, you've got to move out. But it's the worst possible time for them to actually move out. Because if they're going to move out, it's probably going to be in a 10-year lease, and somebody will try and convince them that but we're going to give you the first year free, or we're going to give you tapered down rent, and then it'll finally scale up. But the problem is they don't realize just how much space they need. And if they get into a 10-year lease and they get too much space, that's a problem. If they get not enough space, that's a problem and can literally hurt their company. So trying to find the right space, I didn't want to just flip FITCI into, another sort of 20,000 square feet. I wanted to flip us into 30,000 square feet with space where they can grow into their own suites. And this building right here has that. So it was 23 properties later and 3 LOIs before we found this space. The owners of this space is absolutely amazing. They are entrepreneurs too. They immediately saw this vision. They saw what we were trying to do, wanted us to be a part of it, and want us to buy the building as well, which is our goal, is to buy the building to where we can grow our companies upstairs into those suites and figure out exactly how much they need and then grow them into the other building. And then this right here is base camp, as we call it, going with that mountain goat theme and climbing mountains. This is sort of where we land and regroup before we climb those mountains. Metropolitan Court is in the county. It is only 3 miles from us, where we are in the city, and only 2 miles from Fort Detrick. That one is going to become our biomanufacturing and ag tech. And that's because it is out in the county. We've got more land around it, so we can put the greenhouses around it, and we can do a lot more with that building. And it's just the perfect location for biomanufacturing, with its loading dock and everything else that's actually there. So that's kind of a longer term look at it.
Terrific. I mean, it's just fantastic. And, now I think FITCI is probably one of the largest incubators in Mid-Atlantic, actually. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And, you've only been there for, when you joined 8 years ago, there was almost, I don't want to say turnaround situation, but, you basically put FITCI on the map. And I think part of the reason you were successful is because you were able to help some of your superstar alumni become successful. Could you share with our audience some of your successful superstar alumni who have graduated, as well as some that are still there?
Some of the ones that I know we take credit for, Rooster Bio and Biofactor, I have a hard time taking credit for them, to be honest with you. They were in our incubator. Biofactor is actually in our incubator right now, again, for lots of different reasons. They were expanding and needed to kind of, come home with some different things. And John Raleigh from Rooster Bio, they started there, and they were there when I was there. John Raleigh was one of the ones who ended up becoming my first chairman for my strategic growth and advisory board. And he's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. So is Daryl Sampe. And they helped me put some of those programs in place. We did a lot of collaboration together. We still do. John Raleigh is still, on our board, and is still our biotech chairman of our startup biotech team. And then Theradaptive was one of our most recent grads. We were just getting ready to do his grand opening. We were so excited. And then guess what hit? COVID. So we still haven't been able to do his grand opening, but now we'll be able to do his next grand opening as he has expanded. But we have some superstars here that came on when I first got here that are near and dear to my heart, and near and dear, I think, to your heart as well. Nano Biofab and Cartech. They both came on at the same time. Just humble, amazing women with phenomenal technologies and coachable, teachable. You could not ask for a better founders at all. Both of them are, women owned, both of them very passionate. But of course, I don't want to just say just all women. We've got Blue Sources, which is amazing. And Mesa Science is completely amazing. He was here before I came, and he now mentors and helps all of our other companies and stuff. So we've got 75 different ones. And I always feel a little guilty talking about one versus talking about the other ones, because then someone's going to hear this and go, why not me? I thought you loved me, but I love them all. Nanokern is doing phenomenal things. So yeah, there's a lot of.
You guys have you have alumni that are winning awards all over the country. Yes. I know the Nano Biofab's out in California today, and
they won Silicon Valley. Woo!
Silicon Valley, yeah. So, phenomenal. And they won the FC event in Reston, Virginia. And I know the Maryland Tech Council, FITCI, was a lot of our clients were featured there. So, congrats on all that. You mentioned the Strategic Growth Advisory Board. I think, and full disclosure, I'm on your board. I'm on the board of FITCI, and I love it. But I think that's one of the differentiators, because I've worked with a lot of incubators, and Anthony has as well. And the differentiator, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but you want experienced CEOs. Like, you don't want people that have been the number 2 or number 3, people who haven't built a startup, people that, have been around the ecosystem, but have not been in the fire. Is that correct? And what differences have you seen between your strategic growth and advisory boards and, mentor boards in other incubators?
Well, here's a problem. I've told people this. You can have on your incubator website a long list of here's all of our mentors. You guys know this as well as I do. We're stubborn when it comes to being entrepreneurs, and raising our hands and saying that horrible 4-letter word, help, is really difficult to do. So picking up a phone and calling a mentor, you normally do it when it's too late. That's our problem, because we are smart people and we will spend time trying to figure it out. And normally until it's too late. And that was one of the things that's always broken my heart. It's like, God, why didn't you come to me 3 months ago when I could really do something, or 6 months ago? So the Strategic Growth and Advisory Board is mandatory. The board, it took me like 3 years to get my board to vote it in, to say that if you are going to be a part of FITCI, you will be a part of Strategic Growth and Advisory Board, and it's mandatory. So you have to come quarterly. You fill out a prep form. You talk about what your last 3 months goals, what happened to those, good, bad, or indifferent. And we're there to really help. And then you talk about your next quarterly goals. We talk about different problems, different issues. I mean, we've talked about spouses, that are now dealing with cancer and brain tumors and the things that are causing the founder issues and problems. We've talked about partner issues, and the list goes on and on and on when it comes to being a founder. So yes. And I took a lot of heat when I first put this together, because it's like, what do you mean you're turning this person away? They want to help and they want to volunteer their time and they want to mentor your companies, and you're turning them away. And I'm like, that's true. I'm turning them away, and I'm turning them away because they are not a seasoned CEO, and they have not grown and scaled and are currently growing and scaling a business and have all of those experiences. And then the other piece behind this is, I expect that when my companies graduate, that they have to come back and give back too. This isn't a come in, take from the organization and not give back.
Well, you've done a great job in terms of crafting and shaping the advisory board and making sure you got the right, the right people there. And it makes sense. If you're currently running a business, if you've run a business in the past, then you're more qualified than someone who is not. I think we're running out of time almost. So my last question to you would be, aside from coming to the grand opening at 5:30 p.m. on July 18th, is there anything that our viewers can do to help to get involved with FITCI? Do you have any gaps, any needs, anything you're looking for? Because I'm sure many people would want to get involved with you guys.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. I had a story that I wanted to tell you guys, because I want to give you sort of the vision of where we're going and what FITCI is going to actually look like. And I think it will also tell you kind of what we need, which it's all encompassing, because I believe that in order to, sort of raise up a company, it takes a village to do that. And it is one of the most rewarding things. But I can tell you that if we've got time, let me give you this story. And this is sort of what is made up in my DNA. My father was an entrepreneur. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. But I always said the hardest question I'm ever asked is, how many brothers and sisters do I have? And that's because she is the fifth generation of women who raise up foster care kids and tries to adopt them all. And she was constantly sending me, here, meet your new sister, meet your new brother thing. So when my mother died very young, my grandmother came to me and she said, you have to continue this legacy. And I was like, Grandma, I'm a businesswoman. That's just not who I am. But it weighed so heavily on me that it's like, how can I let Grandma down? I met this man not a week after my mother had passed away. His name was Bernie Dorman, was a mentor of mine and an amazing man. He built CEO Space, and he told me, if you really want to keep your mother and your grandmother's legacy alive, come to CEO Space. And I did. And I went for 1 week and it's went 5 times a year. We unfortunately lost him during COVID, but it was 5 times a year, and it was investors and entrepreneurs coming together with technology, with education, with networking, with all sorts of different types of opportunities. But here's what happened. I went talking about this. I want to leave a legacy, but it's not having a bunch of kids around and me being a stay-at-home mom. In 1 week's time, we had a new nonprofit that was created. We had several organizations that was created. We had an entire board, and we had this organization up and running in 1 week's time. And I know that that's what can happen. That magic is what can happen when you pull all the right people. We had all of our lawyers there. We had our accountants there. I wouldn't have been able to pull all of that off. That's what I'm trying to create in his name, in his honor here. So it's a community of people who need to come together to be able to help accelerate our companies. So thank you for that time.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. And, I'm sure if people are interested, they will be in touch. And, other than that, I'll see you before July 18th, but hopefully people can join us at the grand opening. With that, let me turn it over to Anthony, who might have some closing remarks. Anthony.
Thanks, Tien, and thank you so much, Kathie, for joining us today and for sharing that tremendous vision that you have for FITCI and what you're doing there. And it's not only, great example for Frederick and your local community, but it's really a shining light and an example for people to learn from and grow from across the region. And so we thank you for pioneering work and all the hard work you're doing to help our regional ecosystem as well as the Frederick area. And thank you so much again for being with us today.
Well, thank you for that. But I do have to say it's not me. It's a village of people who's doing it. So I appreciate the compliment, but it really is an amazing group of people. So, but thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for having me on the show.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you for joining us.